is the deadliest GTA protagonist? Over the last 28 years, we've played as cannibals, mob members, street racers, and gang members, and killed just about everyone in between. So, I've tallied up every single main story kill from every GTA game to finally answer this question. And I can guarantee you the number of kills the deadliest protagonist has is more than you'd think. So, let's finally answer who is the deadliest protagonist in GTA history. To start, we need to set a few rules that we are going to use to determine who is the deadliest. First, we are counting main story kills only. This means no strangers and freaks, no most wanted missions, and no side missions. Second is that if there's an option to kill someone, we are counting it as if they did. So someone like Ortega, who we can decide if we kill or not, shotgun to the dome every time. Third, shared kills are given to everyone. This is only applicable in GTA 5, so it's not that important, but I still needed to clarify. And the most important rule that some of you may not agree with is we are only counting named NPCs only. So for example, Trevor killing Johnny, Terry, and Clay in Mr. Phillips would count, but the rest of the loss that he decimates right after will not, since it's hard to get an exact count with some games having infinitely spawning enemies. Plus, if we did it this way, then there is one person on this list who would make it completely obsolete, and I'll tell you why later. And finally, kills mentioned prior to the beginning of the story don't count either. The best example for this would be Tommy and the Harwood Butcher incident. He went to jail, and we know he did that shit, but since it's hard to verify similar stories for other characters, they don't count. We got the rules laid out, so our first two people tied with a total of 6 bodies are Franklin Clinton and Johnny Klebitz. Honestly, this makes sense given that they are probably the two most level-headed protagonists we've played as. Franklin's tally is a bit weird though. We know his canon kills are Esteban Jimenez, Elwood O'Neill, Chip Peterson, Wei Chang, and Devin Weston, but the 6th would be Brett Lowry, the healthcare CEO from Lester's hotel assassination. The assassination missions are technically considered side missions, but since this is the only one that is actually mandatory to complete in order to beat the campaign, I figured I needed to make an exception. But since we're only counting named kills, Johnny killing 2 cops, no matter how corrupt they were, may put him higher on the watch list, although Franklin killed 2 billionaires, so in America, they might hate him more. Either way, coming up next on the list, we got Victor Vance with a total of 8 bodies in GTA Vice City stories. Being ex-military, a drug smuggler, and working for people like Marty, it makes sense that he would have to take out a few people. Though he definitely is still a maniac, a lot of his kills came from being betrayed or having people mess with him, his brother, or Louise, so he gets a pass. Right after Vic Vance, we have Tommy Vercetti with a total of 9 kills throughout Vice City. Tommy gets out of jail after 15 years and almost immediately goes back to what he was locked up for in the first place. Makes sense since a lot of Vice City was inspired by Scarface, but Tommy takes it to a whole new level. Tommy worked with and then later killed just about everyone he ever talked to during the story except maybe Ken. Diaz, Lance, Sonny, Gonzalez with a literal chainsaw. Tommy was an animal with his only goal to take over Vice City. What's weird about Tommy's tally though is some of the people he takes out were unnamed during the actual game, but were later given names during Vice City's promotional website back in 2002. Pedro Garcia is one of these names, along with Vic Vance and Mr. Black as well. Next is actually a 3-way tie between Claud, Michael, and Luis Lopez with a total of 10 kills. Realistically though, Michael's should be 9 because I bet a lot of you didn't even know that A, you can optionally kill the girl that the janitor is speaking to before entering his apartment and cleaning out the bureau, and B, that her name is Marilyn. You'll never be able to forget this like me now that I've told you about it, but technically she is a named character with her own model, so she definitely counts. With Claude though, the silent killer, it's highly debated whether Claude from GTA 3 and Claude Speed from GTA 2 are the same person. Admittedly, I didn't add Claude Speed to this list because most people I know never even played GTA 2, but if I were to say that they were the same person, it would bring Claude's total kills to 45 over both games. However, since we can't confirm it, I'm gonna leave it at 10 for now. Between these three characters though, Luis Lopez might have the most brutal kills. In the Ballad of Gay Tony, Luis throws Tahir from the top of the Rotterdam Tower, landing on a car that gets decimated, and then right after that, he gets Ahmed to off himself with the power of his aura. It's probably a close debate between these two kills or Devin Weston's, cause Devin's is pretty messed up when you think about it. But since Luis did it twice, that beats it in my book. Tony Cipriani, the protagonist for Liberty City Stories, comes in at 5th with a total of 16 kills. I had mentioned earlier that we are only counting the named kills because there was someone on this list that would make it completely useless because of how many people they are rumored to kill. And that is all thanks to Tony. Because during the events of Liberty City Stories, he quite genuinely commits a terrorist attack. On the mission Bring the House Down, Tony blows up dozens of city districts where it is estimated that he killed around 72,000 people. And what did he do it for, you might ask? $5,000. That's an average of 7 cents per kill on some innocent ass pedestrians.
You know what that did? This. Look at this. All of Fort Staunton is destroyed. So the entire neighborhood is now gone, just obliterated.
And if that somehow couldn't get worse enough, Tony has some of the most brutal character kills in the entire franchise. A few examples are Avery Carrington, where Tony kills him and then gives him to Donald Love, who then eats him. And then there's Giovanni Casa, who is even more insane. I won't lie. The killing is actually so gruesome that I don't even want its description coming up on the transcript for YouTube to potentially flag. So I'll show it up on screen if you want to read. Also, consider subscribing if you're enjoying the vid. Tony is undoubtedly up there for one of the most deranged protagonists we've ever played as, which makes sense given the game is heavily inspired by The Sopranos. But as far as kills in GTA, there's still a few that stand even above him. Now we move on to the podium positions, with number 3 with a total of 18 kills, our boy CJ. Arguably one of the most beloved characters in the entire franchise, CJ is not only loyal to his homies, but he also has one of the most psychotic kills in GTA history. While technically not a named character, though I did include him, CJ killed the construction foreman in cement while trapped inside of a porta potty just for talking smack about his sister. And while these definitely don't count towards his tally, he runs over a bunch of people with a harvester. CJ is well known for being one of the most inconsistent protagonists that Rockstar has ever written, but that's part of the reason that makes it so enjoyable. He can go from doing basic drive-bys in one mission to taking down entire planes and then kidnapping a dude and his girlfriend and drowning them at the pier. If I didn't know any better, I would say that he is even more psychotic than Trevor, but the numbers don't lie, which is a perfect segue to our runner-up position, Trevor Phillips. Trevor is a psychotic, cannibalistic, drug-infused maniac, but also loyal to a fault, which is why it makes sense that he manages to rack up over 23 kills throughout his story. What makes it even crazier is that he isn't even introduced to us till a quarter of the way in. I mean, within the first 2 minutes of getting introduced to Trevor, he already takes out Johnny Klebitz in brutal fashion, then 3 minutes later he also ends both Terry Thorpe and Clay Simmons, and then Ortega, putting his tally at 4 before the end of his first mission. Now, what's a little different about Trevor's kill count, however, is that a majority of his list comes from one mission, Crystal Maze. In this one mission, he would raid the O'Neill farm, kill 11 of their brothers, blow up their house, and walk off like he was in an action movie. For reference, Trevor had more kills on O'Neill brothers than Lewis, Franklin, Johnny, Claude, Michael, and Tommy had throughout their entire stories. Now, it's very likely that Trevor's tally is actually only 21 kills due to the fact that 2 people who I added to his list are Floyd and Deborah. Whether he was responsible for their deaths or they killed each other, we can only speculate. However, I think most people would agree that it's heavily implied that he did that shit. So I decided to give it to his tally. But no matter how crazy Trevor gets throughout his story, there is still one man who is undoubtedly the most cold-blooded killer in GTA history. The deadliest protagonist with a total kill count of 55 is Niko Bellic. Niko is the King Von of Liberty City. If you know, you know.
If he wanted you out of there, he'll go do it himself on feet, bye.
Niko was ex-military, came to Liberty City for a better life thanks to Roman, and probably ended up killing more people here than he did in the army. Even if you were to take out all of the optional kills from his list, Niko still has to kill 40 people in his story, which would still put him over every other character. The story of GTA 4 is well known for being the darkest story Rockstar has ever written, and a lot of Niko's actions prove that. There was the time that Niko participated in human trafficking and committed war crimes prior to the game. He snuck into a hospital to unplug someone's life support, and he also tricked a girl into being kidnapped. All this makes sense as to why many people consider him not only the deadliest, but the most messed up protagonist we've ever played as. And while we don't know much, I find it hard to believe that Jason or Lucia will reach anywhere close to these numbers, solidifying Niko as the deadliest GTA protagonist of all time.